Good morning on this beautiful June morning. I'm Randall Osborne. I'm here with Kevin Hall to my immediate left, Charlie Chalk to my far left, and we are here to discuss, promote, and educate our viewing audience regarding the upcoming rendezvous on Bear Mountain, September 12th, 13th, and 14th of this year in Pikeville, Kentucky. First, I'd like my immediate left partner, Kevin Hall, to introduce himself.
Yes, I'm Kevin Hall. I'm one of the managing members with the Pike County Historical Society and also the co-team leaders with the Pikeville 200 Bicentennial.
And next, the time traveler to my far left, Charles Chalk. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Charlie, please.
All right, I appreciate that. Well, I'm Charles Chalk. I'm the one that the Pikeville Committee has brought in to help with the historical side of things, with the making sure that we have a good event and that we've done it historically correct, and that those who both come to visit and those who come to participate will have a good time. And so I've just been brought in as a sort of a historical consultant. Sometimes they call it a bourgeois, which is French for the boss, but I'm not the boss. So the best way to say it is I've just been brought in to help out where I can.
By way of background, let me tell our audience that we are here simply because this year, 2024, is the bicentennial year of Pikeville, Kentucky. There is an ongoing celebration. There has been from January, and it will extend through the end of the year to recognize the folks who have made Pikeville, Kentucky what it is today. Our rendezvous is only one part of that celebration. Could I ask Charlie to please tell our audience exactly what is a rendezvous, what it will involve, etc.?
Sure, glad to. Well, first of all, a rendezvous is a term that means a gathering, obviously. Traditionally, the rendezvous were considered part of the westward expansion, the westward fur trade era, 1800 to 1840, where they would gather in the mountains after a year of working hard and trapping and hunting in the mountains. They would gather, and from that time they would get what they needed for supplies and just as a time to be together. Most of them lasted several weeks to a month, where they would gather, see who they haven't seen in a long time, and get back and acquainted with people. Our rendezvous is similar to that in the fact that we're going to be gathering from not only from 1840 back to 1800, but we'll go back further from 1800 back to the 1760s. So we're going to have a divided camp, a timeline within the camp. That timeline is going to lay out 2 periods of time so folks can see and know and get to actually talk to, spend time with, and see how people lived and what they did in those time frames. Ours is what's considered to be a juried event. The juried event means that what you're going to see is we're not going to allow in any modern equipment or anything like that. The participants know that they're going to be as close as possible to the time period that they're going to portray. And of course, they're going to be there for the 3-day event. Most of them will stay the entire time. There's going to be quite a bit of competition amongst hawk and knife and bow and rifle and smoothbore guns. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for people to see the old-time weapons and the guns that were used in those time frames actually used again. If they've never seen that, it'll be an exciting time and a good time both for young people and for adults just to come and have a good time.
You all have noticed undoubtedly that Charlie is dressed out in clothing of the period. I'm going to ask Charlie to explain a bit about his dress today, some of the bead decorations, etc., and especially his long arm that he has propped up on his left leg.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Traditionally, when folks left, they left a civilization, so to speak, at any time period, whether it was the colonial era or the fur trade era. Most of them had the normal clothes of those communities or those cities that they lived in. So they would have had cloth clothing, sewn shirts, things like that. But as time went on, items were converted over and leather was used. Animals were skinned out and the skins were used to protect some of the clothing that you still had left and also to replace things as they would wear out. So the jacket that I have on would simulate the fact that I've worn out either a vest or a jacket and I still need something, because traditionally men up through the time periods all wore some kind of an over jacket or coat or a vest over their main shirt. Unless they were absolutely working in a field and absolutely just worn out. So I have a leather skin vest on that would typify that of a Western type period that has long fringe on it. So it kind of represents the 1830s, 1840 time period. I have on a pair of leg type coverings. Traditionally, these would have been there to protect when you're riding a horse against brush and being scraped against and things like that. And it also keeps your pants from wearing out. I still have a cloth shirt. I may have traded for that cloth shirt, or I may have still have one that's still in good shape. I have on a pair of cloth pants. Actually, they're just knee breeches that come down to the top of my knees. And that would have been typical of what you would have seen from, if you were looking at somebody from the Western fur trade expansion time period, or typically we would say it even goes back to the early history of Kentucky in the 1780s, 1790s, where the same thing, there wasn't a lot of cloth available on the frontier. What you had, you wore, and you replaced it with leather as you went along. The gun that I have with me would have been what we call basically a fowling gun. If someone really wanted to identify it, we would say it's a shotgun. Of course, it's a flintlock mechanism. The mechanism here that works on the lock is of course the gun's unloaded, but basically what happens is the lock's going to strike against that steel and cause a spark, which ignite a pan of powder, which would ignite the barrel charge and send the bullet flying. So once you squeeze it off, you end up with a set of sparks that ignites the pan in there. But this is a fowling gun. Most of the time period that we're looking at, the average man would have carried a fowling piece. It's not rifled, it's smooth inside, similar to a shotgun that we would know today. But it gives you the advantage you can shoot one round ball, you can shoot multiple smaller round balls, a shot load, or you could take it back to a small game load and load it with very small shot and use it. So a very practical kind of a gun that would have been around. This one is just a very, very simplistic. There is nothing fancy about it at all. It's simply put together and worn, well worn, as is typical of a gun that would have been around in those time periods, and they didn't spend a ton of money on getting the gun fixed up. It was just a working gun for them, just like a working tool.
And that, folks, is in a nutshell what you would have seen had you lived in the period.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And back to our reason for being here today, just by way of history. Pikeville, Kentucky, again, is the city whose bicentennial we are celebrating. And just on a little historical note, I find it intriguing that Pikeville was not the first choice of a county seat of justice for Pike County. Our first county seat was in a wide spot immediately downriver from the mouth of modern Peyton's Creek, a spot called Liberty, Kentucky. It was not a new name in Pike County or in eastern Kentucky. There had been a Liberty district in the old Floyd County before Pike broke off. Liberty was met with quite a bit of criticism, location-wise, rightfully so. Pikeville was chosen as the seat of justice simply because a gentleman donated property for the public square. The original name of the location was Peach Orchard Bottom, and we should know that Peach Orchard Bottom was Peach Orchard Bottom long before Pikeville came into existence. As a matter of fact, we suspect that peaches had been planted there long before the first white explorers came through in order to serve as a food source for Native Americans on their travels up and down Leviathan Fork. The main cause or impetus for settlement of Peach Orchard Bottom was simply travel down Leviathan Fork from Tazewell County, Virginia. We had the Honeckers, we had the Adkins, the Damerons, several other well-known families, including the Ratliffs, who were in this area within the modern city limits of Pikeville as early as 1796. And with that bit of history, I'm going to flip the coin again, go back to Kevin, and ask Kevin to follow up on the location and description of the site where the rendezvous on Bear Mountain will be held.
Yes, the location that was actually sought, and we took some diligence in trying to locate a place that was large enough to host the event. And it was finally determined that a piece of property that University of Pikeville now owns is officially called the Bear Mountain. The Bear Mountain has two access points to get into it. It's easy access. The topography is flat, and we probably have about 20 plus acres for as an encampment. Plenty of room for black powder competition as well as archery. And it's just a fabulous place. The best place to tell the viewers and also the competitors to find it, it is directly behind the Pikeville High School on the mountain, or the Community Trust Bank building, which is right off US 23. Just simply take a left at the first exit and go up Cedar Creek Road, and there's a east entrance as well as a west entrance that accesses the property.
Charlie, if someone actually wanted to be a camper during the rendezvous or a competitor, what's necessary fee-wise, etc.?
Okay. Well, as a competitor or as a camper or as what we would consider to be a trader, there are set fees for that. Those fees are published. I urge them to go to the website and look it up and find exactly. We've done it as reasonably as we could do it. The city of Pikeville's been very good to provide some financing and to kind of cover some of the cost of the event. It's certainly the fees for the people who attend are not good enough to cover the cost of the event by a long shot, but we've been able to do that, so that's a good thing. For the visitors, which is traditionally what we're talking here as folks right now, visitors get in for absolutely free. You're welcome to come, spend a day up there, spend 2 days, or come up every day. Of course, overnight and everything like that will be restricted to those who are registered to attend and those who are part of the participating group, which you must have the proper dress, the proper camp gear to be able to participate in the event. But we encourage people to come up and look at that. You're going to get to see some things that probably never quite seen before, or not very common, especially in Eastern Kentucky, because this is a unique event for Eastern Kentucky. Don't have any history that there's ever been another such rendezvous of this size ever in Eastern Kentucky. So that is truly unique. So we expect that the crowds are going to be coming, and we're going to have a good time over those couple of days, just introducing ourselves to the public. You can stop and ask questions of folks that are there. Ask them about their guns, ask them about their camp gear, ask them, what are they eating, what kind of foods do they have. Everybody that has done this for a while is always welcome to get new folks involved. And we just hope that somebody out there that we're talking to right now might get excited about this and say, I might get into this. It's a sport to us. We enjoy it. We have a good time at it. And it's possible that anybody can find out about it and accumulate the gear and be ready to go as close as a year from now, even, potentially. So we'd love to have you come and visit. It's just, we think it's going to be a good opportunity for people from a distance away from here. Traditionally, when these events occur, they're regional and they draw from a good distance. We'll draw, I'm sure, from Ohio. We'll draw from West Virginia, Tennessee, possibly as far as Missouri and other places that are going to come and be there with their camp and taking the time to It's two things. People say, well, why would people do this? Well, there's two things. We enjoy the camaraderie amongst ourselves and the time together and doing that, and nothing better than sitting around in an evening around a campfire. No street lights, no modern conveniences or electricity, strictly campfires and candle lanterns, and just sitting around talking, maybe doing some singing, and enjoy it. And we get to relax and enjoy ourselves in doing that. We get to shoot and compete amongst ourselves. And the best part is again, that the public is welcome to come and see all of that competition going on.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie mentioned the term compete, or the word compete. There will be competition amongst the participants. I'm going to ask Kevin to give us a rundown on the competitions, awards, and especially the medallions.
Yes. I'll start off with the medallion first. The medallion is a wonderful piece. It's been carefully thought through the course of a year's time, and of course, Carrie has been very instrumental in helping us get that thing designed as well. But anyhow, the medallion basically gives the competitors, as well as the vendors, the artisans, the ability to roam around the camp, and plus it identifies the persons have traditionally been registered for the event. Now, part of the things that we'll be looking at is there's different categories involved in the rendezvous, and of course, one of being there's two campsites that Charlie had mentioned earlier, as well as camper cook-off. Then our prestige thing is, of course, is Charlie's main idea. Of course, Charlie's participated in this type of event before, which is the wood walk, which is part of the Pikeville 200 flagship on the competition, as well as youth longbow, adult longbow, tomahawk, as well as knife throw. And also, we also have the paper match, which is smooth bore with no rear sight, as well as the paper match rifle, open notch rear, blade front, as well as the team shoot. We have 5 teams on 30-yard clay, as well as the team shoot, which is the 4x4 stake cut.
One of the points we emphasize with our competition, Kevin alluded to, is to involve our school groups. Archery is an absolute tidal wave in middle and high school competition today. I'm going to ask Kevin to tell us about the arrangements that have been made for the student longbow competition.
Yes, starting last year, we were definitely, trying to get the youth involved into the Long Hunters Rendezvous. That we've been 2 years trying to organize this thing. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to bring the kids up and let them experience the true events that happened long ago. I mean, basically, it was the flagship that started this city to begin with the outdoorsmen, the explorers, the Ginsengers, long hunters that came through in the past. But what we're going to do with the children, we're having a gentleman out of Ohio that's building this 20 juried bows. And what this does, this gives the youth to experience what the long hunters would use back, before 1840 to 1760 in the same fashion, as well as the arrows, the shafting that's provided, which is juried as well. But during the events that the local county schools had, I looked at one back in March of this year, and there were over 1,200 kids showed up just for archery competition. And talking with the kids and the coaches, everybody was very enthused just to have a chance to get out and compete and feel what it would be like to have, be in the long hunter's shoes even back then. So we're looking very forward to, the youth setup in the archery competition.
And we want to encourage any school officials, especially archery instructors or sponsors, to get in touch with us We would love to have your better students compete. Kevin will always be available to speak with you and give you the details. Speaking of details, I should tell you that our group that we operate under is called Fur and Ginseng. And we chose that title because those two were the first products, income-wise, on the upper Big Sandy Valley. The bear, the elk, the buffalo were hunted to near extinction, the buffalo to extinction, in pursuit of furs for income. Everyone knows, I think, that Daniel Boone came down Leviathan Fork through the breaks during the winter of 1767-68. But what folks don't know is that while he camped at modern David at a salt spring, that is where Boone saw his very first buffalo. Buffalo were once common along the Big Sandy Valley. The most desired or expensive fur was the bear skins. The old story propagated by Henry Scaff that I have no reason to doubt is that at least one shipment of bear skins went to France and was turned into headwear for Napoleon's army. Kevin has uncovered countless accounts of store debts, which were simply paid by animal skins and furs. If furs paid scores of store debts, then ginseng paid even more. The problem with ginseng is that once it was dug, once it was sold, it didn't replenish itself very quickly. We did find one account of a 1,500-pound wagon load of dried ginseng that came out of eastern Kentucky and was drawn the entire length of the state of Virginia from Tazewell County to the port of Norfolk in 1832. That should give you an idea of the demand as well as the price that was probably paid for one of the first products along Leviathan Fork. As far as exhibitors and vendors and demonstrators who are not competitors, Charlie, could you give us an idea of some of the artisans we expect to be in attendance?
We're going to see a pretty good range of people. I talked to a gentleman last week from Ohio. You're going to get to see, of course, there's going to be some people there probably selling black powder firearms, leather work of all kinds, pouches and bags and things like that. We're going to also see powder horns. So those items all fit around the firearm side of things. And then we're going to see blacksmiths. I believe we'll see some clothing folks there that'll be selling clothing. Plus, small items, trinkets and things small things. A lot of the folks that come to these events that bring the equipment that are going to be merchants generally bring things that we personally need for our own equipage, and that way it gives people a good idea of what it would have been if you went to a trading post or a store on the frontier. They're going to see basically the same kind of items that we buy today to equip ourselves that they would have equipped themselves in the 18th or 19th century. So it gives a good idea of the background of that. But we don't have a good number yet on the clue of how many are going to come as far as vendors, but we do have some committed vendors, and we're looking at vendors that sell quality products, not anything that is Chinese made or anything like that. It's all been juried out. That's what the word juried means, is we've cut out. We've said you have to come up to a higher standard, just like a jury would mean. That a jurying means that it's a high quality product. So whatever you see there is going to be high quality, available to the public. Anybody can buy it. I'm sure they'll take your money as well as they'll take my money. So we'll have a good time, and we'll be able to get some things that they need.
Thank you, Charlie. By way of a final historical tidbit, The first steamboat came up Levice Fork in 1837, and with faster, more efficient transportation, the end of both fur and ginseng was in sight. The faster it could be dug, the faster the skins could be shipped to market, the more quickly the supply was depleted. And with the depletion of supply, it seems that our time is being depleted. And on an ending note, again, I would like to review and tell you that this, like Charlie said, will be free to the public. Mark it on your calendar, September 12th through 14th, and especially supervised school groups. We encourage students, their sponsors, their teachers to come educate themselves, ask questions. The people who do these rendezvous are there not only for their own pleasure, but for public edification, and I think you will terribly enjoy it. Anyone have closing comments?
I want to actually speak about the youth program again with archery. Those grades are in two classes, 8 through 12 and 4 through 7.
Anything in closing, Charlie?
No, we may just want to bring it back to you and show them the award for the best camp that's there.
Just pick it up, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin has in his hand the award, or one of the awards for best camp. I must say that this is an absolutely beautiful piece of equipment. The hawk was made by Charlie. It will be given as an award for one of the best period camps. There is another that's inscribed the same way, only with a different date, for the other dating camp. Those will be given as awards, and I'm sure once received, they will be something that will be treasured and just a way to remember the rendezvous on Bear Mountain. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for watching. Hope to see you September 12th, 13th, or 14th.